Welcome to the next in our series of videos from the Wilkes Partnership. Today I'm with Andrew Hasnip and Ellie Holland, both partners in our private client team. The Wilkes private client team is one of the largest in the Midlands, so we're well placed to help you with drafting up wills or dealing with probate, and we're still working, so you can contact us to get help. Today we're going to be talking about wills. Andrew, why should people have a will?
Well, the key thing for me is always choice. You get to choose everything that goes in your will. First of all, the executors, who is going to be responsible for administering your estate. You can also choose guardians, who is going to actually look after your children if you're not there. And then a variety of gifts under your will, from specific gifts of individual items to named individuals, cash legacies of whatever amount you want. And obviously who will get the bulk of the estate and in what proportion, and at what age significantly, whether that's at 18, 21 or 25. Most people aren't comfortable with 18-year-olds coming into substantial amounts of money, so often defer that. And again, the will can control all of that. As well as who you include, you also get the choice of who you exclude from the will, but you have to be careful that you don't exclude somebody that may have a claim against your estate if you do exclude them. So professional advice in that sense is always well worth taking. If you don't make a will, then you fall back on the rules of intestacy, which for a long time were very out of date. They've been recently brought up to date, should I say, in respect of the amounts that people receive, but still don't always fall in line with how people live their lives nowadays. For instance, unmarried couples don't have any provision made for them under the intestacy provisions. So it's well worth having a will professionally drawn to cover your particular situation rather than relying on the law to do it.
And Ellie, there are DIY wills around and the availability of getting your will done online. What are the risks involved with those?
So yeah, there's lots of options for do it yourself, as you say, or to do it online, and nothing can really substitute good advice surrounding a will. So that would always be our advice. What you might think is what you need quite often isn't what is best for you, and whether that's from passing it on to your children at the right age, protecting an unmarried partner, putting trust provisions, or even inheritance tax planning. You might have a list of very basic questions that an online facility gives you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's right for you and provide you with a will that achieves the most tax efficient solution. So taking advice is always recommended.
And Andrew, what are the costs involved in appointing a solicitor to draw up a will?
Well, it depends on the sort of will that you're having prepared. Very often at the outset of a meeting with the client, we don't know what sort of will you're going to have, whether it's going to be a very simple one for a husband and wife with all to each other and then to the children, or whether there are going to be more complicated trust arrangements involved, whether inheritance tax is going to drive the provisions of the will. So it's very difficult to give a generic "a will cost this," because it's always what sort of will do you actually need. And obviously we're able to advise clients on tailoring the will, as Ellie says, to meet their exact requirements. And sometimes that's a fairly modest fee, other times it can be a bit more than that, but always you should end up with the right will for your particular circumstances at that time.
And Ellie, once you've gone through the process of taking instructions and drafting up a will and agreeing that with the client, what happens in terms of getting the will signed? There's some specific execution requirements, aren't there?
There are, and that's really important to ensure that the will is valid. So in accordance with the Wills Act, the testator, who is the person that's making the will, has to sign the will in the presence of two witnesses, and those witnesses must be independent, which means they shouldn't be a beneficiary named in the will, and preferably shouldn't be somebody married to a beneficiary named in the will. And the idea is that you get all three people together and they all watch the other sign. And if that is completed, then you have complied with the Wills Act. Failure to do that may mean that your will hasn't been validly executed and that therefore is not a valid will.
And Andrew, once you've got that will signed, what do you do in terms of keeping it? Can you store it with solicitors, and should you review it at all in the future?
Well, like most firms of solicitors, we offer a storage facility for wills, and most clients are happy to leave the will in safe storage with us. A number do keep it at home, but obviously there are the attendant risks of storing any important legal document at home. In terms of when you should review it, I always recommend clients review their will at least once a year, but review in that case means simply take it out of the drawer, or the copy that we've sent you out of the drawer, have a look at it. If it still meets your current circumstances, pop it away in a drawer. If you think there are any changes either in the law or your circumstances or finances that may prompt you to think, oh, we may need to change the will here, we're always happy just to have a quick call with clients over the telephone, just to see whether there's any need to meet and discuss it in more detail. But review doesn't always mean alter.
And Ellie, in the current climate with COVID-19, has the kind of process of taking instructions and getting wills signed changed at all?
We are still taking instructions, and we're still preparing wills for people. So it certainly hasn't changed sufficiently to stop us from doing that. But with the social distancing measures that we're now seeing in place, it has meant that we've had to change the way in which we are doing things. So rather than meeting clients either at our offices or in their home, as we would have done before, we're now doing it by virtual means. So whether that's a Zoom or a Skype meeting or a telephone call, that's the way we're taking instructions from people. Then with regards to signing, there were calls to relax the signing requirements. So perhaps not as stringent as it was, but that's not been accepted. So the requirements of the Wills Act are still in place. You still have to sign in the presence of 2 witnesses, and they must witness you signing. So that's become a little more challenging, but it can still be done, whether that's on your doorstep at a 2-metre distance or over the fence with 2 neighbours. We're even doing it here at work, so people are coming in and through a window we're able to offer that facility. So it has presented challenges, but it's certainly not stopped people from being able to put wills in place.
Brilliant. So thank you for watching today. Ellie and Andrew and their teams are still working at home and in the office. So if you do have any questions, feel free to get in contact with them. Their contact details will appear at the end of this video. And in the meantime, thank you very much for watching.